Hello and welcome to this seminar on Brexit. My name is Andrew Austin and it's my pleasure to be able to discuss the topic of Brexit with you this morning, something that's been overshadowed perhaps by the events of this year, but also something that's been in the offing for some years now, so it's of significance to us all. So let's just share a few slides this morning. We won't be going into it in particular depth, but if there are any questions, there'll be a link at the end for some future question and answer sessions as part of this conference for you to be able to participate on. And those details will be at the end of this presentation, as I said. But we're just going to take a few moments to consider 10 factors around Brexit, which we all need to be thinking about right now. So let me just introduce myself again. My name is Andrew Austin. I'm the Group Operations Director of Priority Freight. I've been in logistics all of my working career, and it's my pleasure again to be with you today. Now, just to remind ourselves, the Article 50 in the UK was triggered in March 2017 to start the process of the UK leaving the EU. And in February this year, the actual transition period began after many debates in Parliament and in the country at large, and obviously with the EU too. In July this year, the deadline for the transition extension was reached, and the transition period now ends at the end of this year, at the end of December 2020, with the UK having left formally the customs union of the EU on the 1st of January 21, so it's very close. The UK government has only signalled its intent of late to leave the EU customs union on the 31st of December 2020 and has not deviated from that path. So we have to plan to work to that timetable. And that recognises a significant change in the way that we will be transacting as businesses into and out of the UK. There have been a number of negotiations around the whole of the trade terms. In fact, 8 rounds thus far. Some of them conducted by video conference because of the restrictions around the pandemic. But there's some indications that those negotiations are faltering, with differences between both parties seemingly irreconcilable. But obviously, we would like to expect that the differences will be reconciled and we will have some levels of agreement that we can all understand and operate by. Well, what does this mean? Well, if there's, for example, a no-deal Brexit where the trade terms can be agreed in sufficient time, we may be moving to something like the World Trade Organization terms, which will mean tariffs of duties and taxes will have to be paid on goods coming into and out of the UK. In addition to this, there'll be a series of full border checks, something we haven't seen for many decades in and out of the UK, with all the obligations that gives. When we talk about the infrastructure that's around this or needs to be around this, there's some level of uncertainty as to what level that's been developed. A number of concerns have been raised by many parties about the difficulties around the infrastructure in and out of the ports, inland, the requirements for each of the shippers or customers in terms of declaration, and how goods should be treated throughout the supply chain. The IT systems around the whole of Brexit are also under question. There have been many promises about sophisticated new systems being developed, but so far little delivery of such things. You can see on this picture here, when there was a previous blockage at ports, the queues in the UK side of the road structure led to up to 35-kilometre delays. That may be indicative of the kind of delays we see when everything has to be declared in and out of the UK. We're obviously concerned about the fact if there's a no-deal contingency plan, what does that look like? It's both required and it's underway, but in addition, the UK government has of late signalled its intention to legislate to override the EU withdrawal agreement, which in and itself is presenting additional strain between both sets of negotiators in the EU and the UK. So we're saying here immediate action is required. Many groups, including Logistics UK and the Road Haulage Association, are lobbying the UK government to say you need to tell us what the infrastructure is going to look like in the post-Brexit ports. The picture you have on your screen is obviously the previous leaders of the UK governments, also sitting together, something we haven't seen since the pandemic started either. But it's really an indicator of how long these negotiations, discussions have been going on. But there's a genuine fear that the arrangements are not as complete as they need to be at this stage. What about trading into and out of the UK? Well, nearly 75% of the UK exports were delivered to the listed 15 trade partners you see on the right of the screen there. Significant trading partners, all of whom we would expect to have trading arrangements and agreements with. Over half of the exports from the UK were delivered to fellow European countries, and indeed half of the imports coming into the UK were from Europe themselves. So a significant trading partner in any shape or form, depending how you consider it. So the importance of having agreements between both parties is significant. Customer obligations. For the first time in nearly 5 decades, a number of requirements are in place. We'll have to be declaring through movement certificates or different customs entries. We may also need a customs freight simplified procedure for importing goods into the EU. And processes need to be developed, and I'm sure are partially developed, around facilitated payment of any applicable duties or taxes. But we're not sure that they are particularly mature at the moment. So we have challenges in and from the customers. There will be some relaxation, we understand, from customs in those first 6 months in terms of payments having to be made or submission dates. But nonetheless, from the 1st of January, every export movement, every import movement will need to be recorded for the duties and taxes to be dispersed at a later stage. So payments deferred rather than suspended, and that's an important consideration. So what's next? Well, there are less than 100 days to go. And that's a sobering thought, isn't it? The timetable is expected to continue. The negotiations are reaching some levels of difficulty. The infrastructure seems to be immature, as does the supporting IT. But obviously, as a logistics provider and serving customers and use customers or additionally logistics providers, you're having to face this challenge. And I think the purpose of today really was to highlight that, to also invite you to additional Q&A sessions throughout this conference to try and raise the debate and the understanding and how we should deal with this challenging situation. It only remains, therefore, for me to say thank you for attending. You can see our website address below if you need some further information. And again, I would encourage you to join us on the Q&A sessions. This is a large challenge on the back of what's been a challenging year already. But I think we have to raise the profile, and we have to raise the awareness in our own organisations of the implications of Brexit so that we can deal with them appropriately. Thanks again for your time.